What's good, you guys? Hope everyone is doing well and safe. So, when we think of pursuing MBA, right, the first and foremost thing that comes into our mind is IIMs, because those are the mighty institutions. And then it's like, what does it take to get into the IIMs? It's like you have to compete with people, the competitive examinations called CAT, and obviously you have to crack it. So honestly, each and every person who appears for the examination aims of getting into an IIM. But it's a reality and a fact that only a few are able to make to it. So what's the reason? It's the right mindset, the right approach, talking to the right people who have walked through that path and who have actually aced it. Today, we have got with us our seniors who have actually aced the examinations and have walked through that path and are here to share their experience, their journey, and here to give us tips on how to crack the examination. So if I were to use the bits and lingo, I would say in logon ne cat foda. And in this panel, we have got with us Prakhar Sinha, who scored 99.91 percentile, Bir Anmol Singh, who scored 99.94 percentile, and Abhishek Agarwal, who scored 99.98 percentile. So without any further ado, I, Dhyayi Rajaguru, on behalf of BITS Embryo, welcome you all in this session. So starting with the first question, like, when you're in first year and second year, there are a lot of career options available. And honestly, all of us are really confused that which career option to choose. So why did you went for MBA and what was the inspiration behind this? And how much do you think MBA is important in today's world? Like, what's your view on that?
Yeah, hi there. So I'd go first on that. So firstly, though, I'd like to say that thinking about going for an MBA or an MS shouldn't be a decision that you make within the first 2 years of your undergrad, because that should be mostly focused on exploring new avenues and trying out different stuff. But apart from that, for me, as per my experience, two things shaped my perspective on that one. Firstly was my interaction while being at the IIM Ahmedabad Winter School. I attended that after the end of my first year. And it was a very unique experience, mostly in the sense that apart from doing the activities, I spent all of my days interacting with the seniors and trying to explore what diverse backgrounds they had and what their expectations and what their futures were. And the second, वो देखने के बाद I got an interest कि हाँ यार ये तो कर सकते हैं. And the second thing was my internship at the Barclays Investment Bank after our third year. So that 2-month internship, it was supposed to be a mix of techno role as well as finance role. And that gave me a perspective of how being a manager or being in an executive position can directly steer the company. The small decisions that you make, they have a literal visible impact. So these were the two main motivations for me to go ahead with giving CAT. Yeah.
Yeah. So hi everyone. First of all, I'm Bir. Yeah. So why MBA? So I think the thing that pushed me towards an MBA was my minor in finance. So I had opted for minor in finance, and the courses I did there, they kind of shaped my interest. And my PS2 at JP Morgan cemented that further. So MBA seemed like the natural progression. So I appeared for CAT, and I believe MBA would provide me with the technical knowledge and the network, which would allow me to move further towards investment banking. So I just attempted the exam. Yeah, this.
See, first of all, hi, I'm Prakhar, and see, I grew up in Ahmedabad, so I have seen IIM Ahmedabad. I've been inside those walls, and let me tell you, the feeling is amazing. Like you can feel the admiration coming from the walls. Regarding this thing, there's a reason I did engineering. There's a reason I'm doing MBA. It's mostly for the brand. I'll be honest about it. I was never interested in engineering. I don't have the aptitude for engineering, and but I do believe I have the aptitude for management. So this is what I wanted to pursue. I also did some finance courses, and especially during my placement time, I got a lot into guesstimates and case studies and solving business problems. So that is also something that's pushed me further towards pursuing this. And like I said, it's sort of also a childhood dream for me to get into the best college. Yeah.
Well, those are like a kind of inspiration for us. Like how when you see people who have a reason and then they succeed is something everyone looks out for. So, well, now we come to the preparation, and I guess the first and foremost question would be the resources. Like because I guess resources are one of the integral part which actually shapes the preparation. So, what resources did you use, and what would be a suggestion for someone who is just about to start preparing, and what resources he or she should use?
My take on this thing would be, uh, when you prepare for an exam like CAT, the first thing that you should do is gauge where you stand right now. So for doing that, I think you should give one previous year paper and see how you score and what you need to do. For example, there are a lot of people who do well in quant, specifically the engineers. There are the non-engineers who do very good in DILR and VRC sections. So first you should gauge where you stand. And then for me, I used the time material. I purchased it, I enrolled in their course, and I used it to as a sort of self-study crash course to complete their quant material as quickly as I could. And then they had their handouts, they had everything. And I think that it helps you to build a sort of revision wala cheese and helps you get into that mindset, because without that, it's a very haywire process, at least for me. And yes, this was the main thing which I studied from. For VARC, I mostly read newspapers, nothing specific. And for DILR, I solved previous year mock papers from any coaching classes. You can pick it up from online, like time ka 2018 ka pura utha lo, AIMCATs ka, and then just solve the DILR and see how the different questions come or what the solutions are, what you are writing and what they are giving. So that's what I think is the most important for me.
Yeah. So the first thing I did was to try one past year paper to gauge my current level. Secondly, I knew that my PS2 would start in July, so I would have a shortage of time because the exam is in November and I would be working on the weekdays. So I wanted to self-study. I'm more of a self-study kind of guy, so I opted for that. I did not choose any coaching. And I started my CAT preparation with Arun Sharma sir's books. So he has written 4 books on different sections, and they are really good. You can solve 3 levels. It has 3 levels per chapter, so you can keep on solving. It helps you a lot. Then what I did was to improve my reading speed. I started reading newspaper editorials. I also used to solve 3 to 4 past year papers every weekend, and I used to analyze them. Analyzing is really, really important because you then understand what your mistakes were and you can improve upon them and score well in the exam. Yeah.
So my approach here would differ from these two because these two are giving CAT for the first time. This was my second attempt. So I enrolled for the time coaching classes. You know, they used to come to campus in Hyderabad. They used to come, and so in my 3-1, which was end of 2019. So around November, I think they started coming to our campus, and you know, there used to be like 2 or 3 classes a week. So I used to attend that, and I used to find that engaging. I used to find those challenging also at times. But then the COVID pandemic struck, so we all had to go home. Now the online class, for me, the online classes don't hold the same charm, and I totally lost interest. So after that, I started my self preparation, and like B said, I use the Arun Sharma books. They are, you know, they have been they are the RD Sharma of CAT preparation. You know, they've been tried and tested, and they have shown results. So in my first attempt in 2020, I went through all those books, I solved all those questions, and you know, I gave the mock tests. And like Veer said, a very important thing is to analyze your performance after every mock test. You need to go through the questions, and you find out which portion you're lacking or what mistakes you're making, and ensure you don't repeat them. So before all that, I think you should go through the syllabus once or the previous year paper once, and you'll find out which topic holds more weightage, which topics could be discarded. Like in an ideal, they could be discarded. So my first step preparation was like that. I solved all those questions. I solved the mocks. First, it did not go so well. Next year, see, this time I already knew what to learn. I already knew what to expect, and I had a like I'd already learned those things earlier, right? So this time it was just about revision, and this time it was more about practice. Uh, so yeah, that's my story about the preparation. It was more about practice this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So I see you mentioned, all of you mentioned like about self-studying and going for a coaching. So here's a common audience question that we get is like, what should I do? Like as a person is asking, like on what basis should you decide whether which is good for you? Or do you have any kind of a suggestion that, okay, you couldn't go for the online prep? That's what I guess Prakhar mentioned that it doesn't have the charm. So what's your opinion on that?
Uh, I think there's a very basic fundamental thing which can help you decide if a coaching is made for you or not. Like through our JE years also, we have realized this, that you know if you can self-study or not. It's a very easy thing to do. You take a week, take 2 weeks, set some targets for yourself and see if you can achieve them or not. If you are working, if you have some other stuff to do in life, if you are managing a CAD side by side, at that point of time, I think coachings provide a very good solution of structuring your preparation. And then more than the coaching, I think the peer group that you get while in the class, like that is a very good motivator. जब तुम mocks में देखते हो कि एक में तुम्हारा अच्छा आ रहा है and in the next one you are going lagging a bit. So that I feel is a very good motivator for a lot of people, and that's how it should be. Just in case you feel you are not as comfortable with preparing by yourself.
So I would like to add something to it. So as we all said that you should first see where you actually stand, right? You can attempt some past year papers and analyze. So if you're doing good, you know that you are able to crack most of the questions. So you might not go for a coaching. Personally, I felt that mocks don't mimic the real world paper, and I prefer past year papers to mocks. And that's why I chose to study on my own and not go in for a coaching mode overall. Yeah.
So when there used to be offline classes, I would go, and I wouldn't say I was the best student there. There was a lot of people far better than me. So I was also a bit intimidated by that at times. So when we were sent back home, I tried attending a few of the online classes, but it's not like you can watch those classes on 2x because they're going live. So I found it really boring. And then I realized that after I started preparing for these on my own, I realized that I can cover more things in lesser time. I don't have to rely on a 7 to 9 p.m. class. I can study in the morning, afternoon, evening. That's up to me. And this also coincided with my PS2. And my PS2 was not very hectic, so I could devote time to preparation for this as well. So the first year I opted for the time thing, and I opted for the classes as well as the mock tests, mock test series. The next year I did not go for the classes because like I said, I knew what to expect and what to study, what to revise. So that's what I focused on. I just went for the mock tests for the practice.
Thank you so much for that answer. So now if you focus on a particular sections, like your strategies to those particular sections and how should one approach. So let's talk right now about the verbal ability and reading comprehension section. So how did you approach that and what would be your suggestions on the same?
So firstly, I think that the whole point of preparing for CAT lies in identifying all the permutations and combinations of attempting the paper, each section, and then finding out which works the best for you. So for example, VARC section, I'll just give an overview. It's comprising of verbal ability and reading comprehension. Reading comprehension comprises of 3 or 4 passages, each having 4 or 5 questions, and you have to go through the passage and answer them. The verbal ability section comprises of para jumbles, and then identifying the odd one out, stuff like these. So for me, I realized after giving a lot of mocks that doing those 7 or 8 VA questions first gave me a sense of confidence कि okay, at least I have done a major chunk of the portion, जिससे मेरे को what can you call it, cut off to clear हो ही जाएगा मेरा, whichever cut off I had established in my mind. So this is how I proceeded. Doing RCs first made me a sort of how do you say it, nervous, क्योंकि अगर तुमने 15 मिनट में 2 आरसी किए हैं या एक आरसी भी किया है, तो it can affect the later stage of your VARC section as well, और over carry over बहुत easily हो जाता है CAT के अंदर. So that's why I think that for me, doing VA first was much more easier.
So when it comes to VRC section, I think it needs a lot more time compared to the other two sections, since we people are not used to the length or the complexity of the passages that are present in the CAT exam, right? Secondly, the options for reading comprehensions which are there, they are also very close. So you need a proper understanding of the passage to figure out which is the right answer. So you need to spend some time reading more passages, reading articles, be it from any newspaper or past year papers or books, right? So you just have to read more, understand more, get the gist of the passage, and then you will be able to crack most of the questions. Right. One thing which I would like to state is that your ULs can also help preparing for CAT indirectly. So I had modern political concepts and cultural studies. And most of the passages that come, they are either revolve around politics or culture or economics. So if you have some amount of background and you're habituated to reading lengthy articles and understanding what it really means, you will be at an advantage here. When it comes to verbal ability, this section, this part generally consists of things like para jumbles or summarizing or finding the odd one out. It's mostly a matter of practice. The more questions you have solved, it will be easier for you to solve on the actual exam day. Vocabulary is not directly a part of the paper, but it is always advisable that you improve it. You can look into the etymology of the words, right? How they are formed, and try to understand the meaning given the context. So it will be really beneficial. Yeah. You can read books like Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis. It's a very good introductory book into etymology, and it will make things easier for you in the longer run.
I will sound cocky when I say this, but I did not prepare for VARC at all. I never practiced VARC questions. See, as a child, I used to read a lot of books and newspapers, so I had a good grasp of the English language. So like I was always confident about this section that I will score well in this, because ego ki baat hai ki bachpan se kiya hai. How to go about preparing, but like like Beer said, the Word Power Made Easy book is actually very good. I did go through that book to improve on my vocabulary for this one, and it teaches you new words in a very structured form. Like you actually remember all those words even after several months after you've read the book, because it goes in a very structured way, like what's the root of the word and how you can create new words out of it, how you can create new adverbs out of it, and everything else. But it's not like you cannot prepare for this. I think the basic thing you should do is just read newspapers, and because they are written by professional writers, and some of the literature is quite good there. And the topics like Abhishek, the topics are also quite similar to what you'll find in the exam, because most of them are some articles about some research or some historic thing or science or philosophy or culture and things like that. So reading newspapers will help you it will help you tackle the reading comprehension questions. They will also help you tackle the para jumble questions, and the vocabulary will help you overall in all the 24 questions you can find. How I would approach this in the exam would be, I used to go through all the reading comprehensions first, because I had confidence in myself that I would be able to solve the para jumble questions or the summary based questions like in a shorter period of time. So I would devote more time to this. I would try to ensure that I finish all the reading comprehensions in 30 minutes, and then I could focus on the others. So yeah.
I'd like to add one thing here. So as Prakhar said, reading newspapers is very important, but just a heads up, don't ever miss out on the editorial page of the newspaper. Like you can read all you want about the sports section or the crimes which are happening or the politics which is happening, but the editorial section that's written by the most what can you say, knowledgeable people who actually have that access to that vocabulary which you want to imbibe. And it's actually very difficult to stay focused while reading the editorials most of the times, because every fifth word, you won't know every fifth word. And that's how you prepare for the RCs in the exam as well. So yeah, first start with the editorial, and then you can, if you have time, go to whichever page you want to. I'd like to add that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually like a great input. So moving on to the next section, being the data interpretations section, what have you used and how did you prepare?
So the DILR section, data interpretation and logical reasoning, that was for me my weakest link in the whole preparation. And the worst part was, see, I believed myself to be really confident in Quant, but the moment I wrecked my DILR section, it would carry over eventually in my Quant section as well. This I noticed after giving a lot of mocks. So what I realized is that it's not about the number, it's not about how you reach the DILR section. It's mostly about identifying the types of questions that you can do and then choosing them and working on them. So for example, if there are some 5 sets of problems of data interpretation and logical reasoning, by giving as many mocks as you can, by solving as many sets as you can from maybe previous year test series or from anywhere you can get, you have to get that ability to move on from those sets if you are not able to solve them. So in my time coaching, I remember there was one trick which we were taught, and that really helped me a lot. In the first 5 minutes, just write down EMD. In easy, just write down 2 sets or 3 sets or even 1 set for that matter, which you think for sure that you will be able to do. In the M section, go for the moderate ones, and in the D section, go for the ones which you know you won't even look at them. So this is something, if you are able to do even 50% of the sets, now if you are able to shortlist them, I think that will be a very big leap in the DLR section. Yeah.
So when it comes to data interpretation and logical reasoning section, this section is fairly straightforward. You need to understand the question that's the statements which are provided, and you need to derive some statements which are implied from the given data, right? So you need to have some out of the box thinking and some problem solving skills to come at a conclusion, right? And if you are really fond of solving puzzles, this section would be easy for you. Mostly you should practice a lot because you need to be able to identify. So there will be 7 sets. You need to solve 4 or 5 sets in order to get a good percentile, right? And you need to know which ones are solvable in the given time. So this section is not about solving 100% of all the problems. You need to be accurate and need to solve as many as you can in the given time, right? So that would probably help you maximize your score in this section. And yeah, you choose the ones which are easier, and that will come only after a lot of practice.
Okay, so see, in BARC, you know what to expect, right? There'll be like 4 passages, there'll be para-jumble questions, and there will be the summary questions. And Quant also has a fixed syllabus that the questions are going to come from these chapters and these topics. But DILR has no such thing because it depends on the examiner, and you can actually create, logical reasoning questions out of almost nothing. So I won't say there's any short way to prepare for these. All you can do is practice, practice, practice. Try to solve as many varieties of questions as you can. And there's a lot of material online. There are a lot of things on YouTube. For example, if I found a particular type of question tricky or difficult, or that it was taking me a lot of time, just simply go on YouTube and you'll find a lot of resources that tell you how you can go about solving this problem in a structured manner. And the problem which Abhishek faced, I faced similarly in the actual CAT exam in 2020. So in 2020 in DILR, say I got I think I got 22 marks, okay, in that section. This year, while I was preparing for it, I solved the mocks and I got 24 marks just in one section. The thing about this is, do not lose heart while you're attempting the exam. Okay, you have to, first of all, yes, you pick the questions right. You don't just go, okay, I'll go chronologically. No, you pick the questions, you find the passages which you think, find the sets which you think you can tackle first. Go with that because it gives you a huge confidence boost. And even later on, if you cannot solve all of them, you won't mind because you know that you've performed well initially. So you should be able to clear the cutoff and get a good score in that. So most important thing is to choose the right questions. If you get stuck somewhere, do not it on your ego. That's the worst thing you can do. It's not like मैं solve करके ही रहूंगा. नहीं, move on, solve some other question, and like see, if you perform poorly, you take that sad morale to the next section. But at the same time, if you perform well, you are hyped up for quant, because we are engineers. Maths is we are supposed to be very good at math, so you get that extra boost there, and I think that's about it. Yeah.
And the last section, the quant one, what would you say?
For quant, I'll say ki for the engineers especially, usually most of us are very well versed with the quant, and especially the parts which come in our CAT paper. But just a word of caution, don't ever overestimate yourself while preparing for this section. And that's because sometimes the paper comes out to be very calculative, and sometimes the things might not go the way you want them to go. So for example, a lot of questions in the speed, time and distance, I noticed this while giving a lot of mocks, they are not supposed to be solved. They are supposed to be done by using ratios and proportionalities, and then you can directly arrive at a solution within 15 to 20 seconds. If you let your engineer instinct take over you, I'll apply all the mechanics and everything here in itself, and you waste 2-3 minutes on that question, that won't land you anywhere. So first thing is that, and the second thing is, don't let your ego take the better out of you. So in quant, even if there are 24 questions, say, even if you do 18 questions or 20 questions, you'll cross the 99 point some mark. So focus on your accuracy while performing quant, and don't get attached to any particular question. That's the other thing. And the third thing is, revise your concepts well. So we might believe that we already know a lot of stuff, but for me, I revised them through mocks as well. I kept a note of all the new stuff which I was learning, of all the new kinds of ways in which the coaching people had solved that particular question in the mock, and then I noted it down and revised it every month. Like, that is what helped me to realize that you don't have to solve every question. You have to leave, or you have to use some other shortcut or method, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
So when it comes to quant, it is probably the easiest section given the engineering background, right? Most of the questions that you face are either 10th level, mostly related to profit loss or work time, these things, or they can be from 11th, 1 or 2 questions from probability or permutations and combinations. It won't go any more difficult than this, right? So it will be fairly straightforward, fairly easy. One thing which has to be kept in mind is to improve your calculation speed. So at WITS, what happens is that we people become habituated to using the calculators, right? And it's really important that you remove this dependence before the exam day. And secondly, you don't have to solve all the messy equations. So you can solve each and every question that's in the paper, but you don't have to do that. It's more about accuracy and maximizing your score. Don't get into the messy equations. Try to find quicker solutions, make well-timed, well-judged approximations, and come to the solution as quickly as possible. If something is taking time, just skip it. Don't take it on your ego. Move on. There will be an easier questions which you can solve in like 30 seconds or so, and just score as much as you can. Practice is the key to improving both the speed as well as the accuracy. Yeah, that's it for maths.
अच्छा, इतना बोला कि सबने बोला कि engineers and we should be very good in quant, but I scored my worst percentile in quant. So it's not like, if you're like Abhishek said, if you're an engineer, don't overestimate your quant capabilities, right? For this, I would say first you find out the weightage every section holds, right? Like, it might be that you're focusing too much on, say, probability and statistics, and they end up asking only one question out of 24 available, and you don't focus on algebra, and they end up asking 7 or 8. So a good strategy for this, I would say, is go through the previous year papers or go through resources on the internet, and you find out how much weightage every topic or every chapter holds. Find out where you stand, using those mocks and everything, and you find out where you stand, where you need to improve. Analyze your mocks, make sure you don't repeat the same mistakes, and please do not make calculation errors. बहुत बुरा लगता है when you miss out on sitters because तुमने 6 को 16 read किया था. So be accurate in terms of that also. Acha, a lot of coaching institutes would teach you these fancy tricks to find ratios or like find the number or something. Sometimes it's useful. For me, I never found it useful. I found clicking on the calculator, on the on-screen calculator, much easier. Please use this for DILR as well, because it reduces your calculation speed by a lot. 123 upon 456 is not a very easy calculation to do. So don't just cut the ratios, just get the number, and you can sort of approximate the answer also, and that would also be good enough. How I would approach this in the exam is, if I see a question, if it's taking me more than 1.5 to 2 minutes, so I think even that I'm speaking too long. If you think that you're going to struggle in a particular question, just skip it. Like Abhishek said, do not take it on your ego, just skip it. Okay, you go, you solve questions, you find a difficult one, you skip it. Because, and a lot of times it's used to happen in mocks and maybe the main exam also, out of the 24 questions, right, say 1 to 7 are fairly solvable, you solved 4 out of those, then the middle part gets difficult and you spend a lot of time on it, and then questions 20 to 24 are absolute sitters. But it's the end of the exam, it's the end of the section, your mind is on the clock and you can't focus, so you end up missing out on some easy marks there if you spend too much time on a particular question or spend too much time in the middle. So difficult lag raha hai, skip it, aage easy questions milenge, wo ace karo, and like that could give a huge boost to your percentile. Right? So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for all this. If I would like to combine every section, I guess we have got a lot of insight on how to approach the paper. So I guess the crucial question that comes up in every aspirant's mind is, when should we start the preparation? As in, what is the right, is there anything called right time to start the preparation? Or is it just that, okay, if I'm now interested right now, then okay, now I should start the preparation? There's nothing like that. So what's your take on this?
So there obviously is a right time to start a preparation, because at the end it is a national level examination. It's not like you can schedule it as per your convenience after 2-3 months when you feel you are up to it, like GMAT or something. So I think that the right time should come, just the realization part of it should come somewhere around January or February of the year of which you are planning to give it. Just a sense कि हाँ मुझे देना है एक बार, because at that moment, when you have a gap of some 7-8 months or like 8 months, you can give a mock, you can analyze, and then giving that mock will give you the confidence ki yes, I can prepare in the last 3-4 months or 5 months, or no, I have to take this whole 8 months and then start preparing for it. So I think that should be the timeline with which you should start preparing for this. Yeah.
Right. So as such, I would like to say, just don't undermine the exam. First of all, the sections might seem that they're really easy, but you never know what is going to come for that year's paper. So you need to be prepared well before the time of the exam, right? I personally started my preparation in April 2021. And from April to August, you can say it was a full focused preparation. I was free. I was solving questions day in, day out, 4 to 5 hours each day. And post August till November, I was just solving past year papers on the weekends. And I was critically analyzing what my faults are and just improving on that. Secondly, I was also preparing for the IIFT exam. So you can add those papers into the consideration as well. They will also help you improve your speed and accuracy and all that things. The mostly when it comes to what is the right time, it depends on the aspirant. But I would say take around 8 to 9 months. It will be a really good enough duration to prepare well for the exam.
Okay, these guys have studied way too hard. I have not done anything like that. I would say I think 6 months, 6 to 7 months. I think 6 months. Like I went with a 6-month strategy. See, if you're a fresher, I would say you start from May. The exams in the last week of November, in the last 2 days of November. If you're a fresher, I would say you start from May. If this is your first attempt. If it's your second, you can maybe start from June, right? And so till July, May, June, July, okay, you familiarize yourself with all the topics in all the sections. And so, and like if you're giving it for the second time, you spend your June and July revising those and solving those questions, right? Then say August, September, and October, it's all about practice. It's all about mock test. It's all about analyzing those mistakes and errors. November, attempt previous year papers. Previous year papers will give you a good idea about what kind of questions to expect on D-Day. And please do not start or do not take up any new topic in the last few days coming up to CAT. Do not like, नहीं मुझे टाइम स्पीड ट्रेन्स का मेरे को तो जान के ही रहना है, नहीं, you will harm yourself, you will harm your preparation, you will lower your confidence in the last week, in the last 10-15 days. Please do not start any topics. And the final day, okay, don't stress. Honestly, like, I know it's very easy to say but do not stress. Just believe in yourself that all the hard work you've put in over the last few weeks, the last few months, they are going to bear fruit. Spend the last day you know revising. Spend it with your family. Like I think I ended up watching a football match that day. So you just need to be in a good space of mind before you go for the exam, right? Make sure you have everything ready. Make sure you have your pens and that those pens are working. Make sure you have your photograph, your ID, your admit card. Make sure everything is set so that you are not searching for something the next morning or afternoon or evening. And just go to sleep at a proper time, please. हम engineers की आदत है, हम like 1 बजे हाँ चलो खाने चलते हैं, नहीं, please 10:30 11 तक go to sleep so that you are fresh the next day. And do not fret, just believe in yourself and you will ace it.
Well, also just adding to this, if you could state, like Abhishek and Bir Anmol, if you could just say what was going into your head in last day.
Okay, so for me, uh, my preparation was mostly centered around giving a mock in January. I had two senior mentors, and I had been in touch with them for a long time. They said, give a mock, and then we'll see how you want to go. I had given a mock in January. I had finished my syllabus, Quant wala revision part during the summer internship, a bit of that. And the last 2.5 months, I had put everything in for giving a lot of mocks. So I think giving a lot of mocks, that made me familiar with facing any kind of issue that I can expect. Like I made an Excel sheet of all the mocks, a detailed analysis. I can share it with anyone who wants, like after the session, they can contact me. So I made graphs just to see ki, yeah, if I am wrecking a paper, what is making me wreck it? And most of the times it was the emotional baggage of one section which I was carrying to the next section. Like it was the main issue of was not being able to let go during the paper. If I used to say perform verse in VA, then mera RC bhi kharab because I used to do RC after VA, and then DILR, so I have already preconceived notion. So this is what helped me, the mocks wala part. And on the last day, I sat down. For me, on the whole last week, I didn't study anything. Like this was for me. I didn't study anything. It was all about going through that notebook of quant formulas, which I had been making, firstly, again and again and again and again. Second thing was I had saved some 3-4 DILR sets, which were the ones which I had been struggling with for a long time. So I just went through them just to see ki agar aa gaya, to I can at least solve something, start with something. And the third thing was on the last day, just chilling and taking a realization after seeing my mocks wala performance ka graph ki okay, if it has been going down, then it can go up as well, and if it has been going up, then it can go down as well. So you have to know that you are from bits or wherever you are, and it's not the end of the world, dude. JEE, I can still understand ki it's a one-time paper, and then if you fuck it up, you wreck it up. But for CAT, if you wreck it once, you shouldn't, you probably wouldn't, but if you do, there's still a lot of avenues open for you, and you keep reiterating this inside your head on the last day. And I think that's what keeps you calm, that's what keeps you focused on the final day. Yeah.
If you do wreck it once, you can do well the next time.
Yeah.
So for me, mostly the past few papers that I solved gave me a good enough idea where I would land up on the exam day, right? But you don't know what changes might occur on the paper, and you might succumb to the pressure of the exam day, and you might wreck your paper badly. So you just need to stay calm. Most of the problem which comes on the exam day is because you are way too nervous while approaching some questions. You just have to give it your best shot. CAT is not the end of the world. There are plenty of other opportunities that are available to you, and you have n number of attempts available for CAT, so you don't need to stress on this very first attempt that you have to clear it, or else you are not going to make the cut, right? So yeah, just chill, read the instructions carefully. You should know what you need to take along with you on the exam day. There should not be any missing documents or extra things that you might carry to the exam day. Just be sure that you have read all the instructions carefully. You know what you have to carry to the exam center. Also, just go through the since it's a computer based test, just go through the mock test which CAT uploads on its website. So just to get familiarized with the interface, that would really help on the exam day. Yeah. And just one day before the exam day, make sure that you go out, chill with your family, friends, and make sure that you don't let CAT go to your head. Just don't stress out. Yeah.
Well, everyone of you like mentioned about the mock test. So we have got another audience question coming, which says that are there any specific mock test like series or something we can do, and what should be the schedule for that? Like once in a week, or and like once the exam comes nearer, how should we approach it?
Yeah. So for me, the center point of my preparation were mocks. Like these were everything my preparation revolved around. And I had purchased Time Ka series and IMS. IMS has SimCats, Time has AIMCATs. And I had heard from a lot of my seniors that AIMCATs are supposed to be like a roller coaster ride for your CAT preparation, whereas SimCats are supposed to sort of imitate how your real CAT paper would be. And for the initial, I'd say for the initial few months like August and July, August, you can go as per the schedule that they provide, like giving a mock once in a week or once in 2 weeks. But starting from September, I'd suggest that you give 2 mocks a week and increase that frequency to three, even 3 mocks, or giving it on an alternate day in October, just because of the reason that you need to get into that mindset of giving as many papers as you can in different simulations. Getting into that simulations wala part is also very important, because uh, at your home you're sitting in front of your laptop in a secluded place. You know your parents won't disturb you, or siblings would stay shut, and it will be very peaceful. But at the center, when you have have another guy sitting just a stair next to you, and he's fretting out, say, well, there will be people who might be fretting out, or there may be people who will look as if they're super calm. So you need to get accustomed to all these probabilities and possibilities. So that's why I think giving as many mocks, for me, I gave somewhere around 30-35 mocks, and a major chunk of that, those were in the last 2 months. Like for the last 2 months, gave a mock almost every alternate day. So, and the second thing is, apart from giving the mocks, you need to analyze them really well. Like uh, mocks are nothing if you don't analyze them, and then you give it, you go through the solutions, and that's it. That's not the way to go about with the mocks. You need to give it, you need to spend almost an equal time in going through each of the section and realizing how the paper setter has solved it. Because uh, if the question has been there in the mock, it's supposed to be solved. It's not there just to keep you in, just to intimidate you. So you need to get it, make a note of it, and realize what are your areas of strengths and what are your weaknesses, so that you can do better the next time. Yeah.
Yeah, so I personally did not attempt any mocks. From J days, I feel that mocks are way more demoralizing for me, and I rather prefer past year exams. So what I did was I collected as many past year papers as you can get. So generally there are 2 to 3 slots for every year. Find all the papers, solve them, 2-3 papers every weekend from August to November till November. You can solve. The most important thing is analysis, as Abhishek said. You have to find what your shortcomings are. If you don't improve on them, there is no way that you will be attempting the questions properly on the exam day, right? So you have to improve. You have to know where your weak section lies. Fine. Find the area, tap it, improve on it, work hard on that area, sit with it for a while, solve more questions until you get the hang of it. Don't leave it pending. Just solve it that day and get why were you missing this point? Why is the answer different from what you thought? And probably that is the reason why mocks or past year papers help you, because you know where you fell short and you know how to cover it up. Then only it's beneficial. Otherwise, solving papers is futile. You can solve any number of questions. If you don't improve, it's a futile practice.
So I enrolled for the time mock test series this year. The first year I enrolled for the time series, and I also enrolled for the IMS series. The next time I did only for time because I knew I wouldn't have so much time on my hands, since this year I was also working, right? I was attempting the CAT while I was working, so I wouldn't have so much time. What I used to do was like I would attempt the mocks mostly on weekends. On weekdays I would come back from the office and freshen up and like practice something or watch a few videos, but I would attempt the mock tests on the weekends. I enrolled for time because a lot of people attempt the time AIMCAT series, so it gives you a good idea, it gives you a good gauge of where you stand among your competitors, and it's almost always the more serious candidates who attempt the mock test regularly, so you have an idea of where you stand among them. And yeah, like these guys said about the mock test, it's pointless if you don't analyze it properly. Like it's pointless if you keep repeating the same mistakes, right? Mocks may you get to know, you should be able to know if, like, you, for example, in quant, if you were not able to solve a question properly, or if you got it wrong, or if you did not attempt it, so what was the reason behind it? Was it a lack of clarity in concept? Was it a logical error you made while solving that question? Or was it just a calculation error, or did you copy the information down correctly or something? So this would prepare you to not repeat the mistake in the same in the next mock exam, because this time ideally you would be more keen-eyed, you would be sharper, and yeah, you don't repeat those mistakes. So I would suggest time mock test. Like some people say that it's not like it's more difficult compared to the actual cat paper, uh, which I think there was some story about MS Dhoni that he used to practice with two bats and then he would walk out with one bat, and that's genital far. I don't know how real this is or how fake this is, but I can take some analogy from this, that if you're able to score good in a difficult paper, then main to tum khodoge fir. So you can take that mindset, I guess.
Yeah, that was insightful. So, well, since all of your branches are CS and MEC, and I guess even branch won't even matter. I'm myself from Phoenix, and I have got this question: that how did you manage your core along with the CAT preparation and also the minor in finance? Because all of you have done that. So, how did you manage time?
For the minor in finance thing, see, you anyway have to complete your DELs, right? And OPELs. So OPELs minor in finance would just take up those courses in OPELs. So effectively you are completing the same number of courses. It's just that the type of courses which you are doing are different, right? So if you are interested in pursuing an MBA, you must be, or you have to explore these courses. No, if not in the form of a finance minor, but you at least have to take 2-3 courses just to get a taste of what you might study after or might do after an MBA. So that's the thing about the extra number of courses. These are not extra courses. These are just the ones which are replacing your current ones. And as far as managing them goes, I'd say that even if you realize, if you think properly, honestly, even before the CAT, even apart from the CAT preparation, we get a lot of free time, especially in our final year. Like around the Senti sem, most of us are placed or are in our PS2s, and we have a lot of free time to explore other stuff. Those placed होते हैं, they spend a lot of free time on the campus roaming around and doing the stuff. And वैसे भी how difficult it is to spare out some 6-7 hours a week on a weekend, on a single day, on a Saturday or on a Sunday, just to go through these things. The studying wala part will come in your 3-2 and during your summer internship, during your summers, so that you can manage. It's not like you're doing everything all at once. You are doing the studying part earlier. Now you are going for the mocks. Now you are going for the revision and analysis. So it's the same time, but you are just taking some chunks out of it and using it for the CAT prep.
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, that I'm an early grad. So I finished all my courses before in the third year itself, right? So I had just one PS for the fourth year, and one semester is entirely free. And the consequence of that was that I had to go for a PS in 4-1 and skip the summer internship altogether. That gave me a solid 4 months since we had that clear grade option as well at the end of 3-2. So I used that time plus the summer break to prepare for CAT with full focus. And PS2 gives you free weekends, so you can attempt as many papers as you want during that duration. Yeah, so you don't have to add everything up during your college days itself. You can prepare after third year. You will have a lot of time. And fourth year is generally free for everyone. You don't have a lot of pressure in that year. So it's easier for you to prepare for any competitive exam for that matter, be it GRE, GMAT or CAT.
So I enrolled for this coaching in 3-1 and continued till 3-2 when we were sent back home. And I did not get serious about CAT until May or June. Okay, in these semesters, I focused on the engineering and finance subjects. That I did not do well in them is a different story. So when I was preparing for CAT 20, I was in my 4 when I was doing my PS, and my internship was not very hectic, so I could devote my time to preparation and everything. And next year was kind of a similar story, but this time I had to manage that with a job. And like my days were kind of long, like 9-hour days and sometimes working on odd Saturdays. So I think I mentioned this in the previous section. So what I used to do was I would come back, I would freshen up for a while, like freshen up and chill for a while, and then I would solve a few questions. Because mostly I was mostly focused on improving my quant performance, or DILR. For DILR, I would watch videos on YouTube, and I would spend the weekends attempting mocks and analyzing them. So that's how I balanced it.
Well, apart from the exam, the preparing for the interview is also one of the things. So how are you approaching that?
For me, we just received the calls for our interviews over the last week. Yeah. So the preparation mostly involves around me studying, going through the newspapers or some newsletters to keep me updated with the current updates, GK, and revising through my resume, because of course, if I'm a fresher, I don't have much to talk about. The internships which I did or the co-curriculars I had, the position of responsibilities which I have, those are the things they'll mostly talk about. And then of course acads play a major role for us, because we don't have any work ex, we don't have any solid work to show for ourselves. So that's the only metric through which they can realize if we are sincere enough or disciplined enough. So these are the three pillars which I'm trying to work on, and let's see, hoping for the best for all of us.
Yeah, so getting a call depends on a lot of factors. CAT is just like the primary step. It also depends how your past ACADs were, right? And if you get the calls from IIMs, then you need a lot of preparation for that, first of all. How I am going about it is you need to be thorough with your undergrad courses, because you will be asked questions on that since you don't have work-ex, right? And you have to be thorough with the current affairs, read a lot of newspapers and be aware what's going around in the world, right? Then you should be thorough with your resume. Whatever you write in your resume, you should know it clearly and properly. Don't fake anything, right? Just be clear what you have done, and because they will be asking from that, right? So if you don't know, it'll give a bad impression. Yeah. And what I would like to add is they can ask you some arbitrary things. If you know, answer. If you don't, just be honest, right? Don't make arbitrary guesses, and let's hope that the interviews go well. Yeah.
So last year, I did not get good calls from any of the top IIMs which I was aiming for. This year, I hope I will. and convert them. For the interview preparation, yes, you have to be you have to brush up on the current affairs, and you have to know what's happening around the world. Uh, and they also grill you on your academics, on your college life, as in the positions of responsibilities you held, or what courses you did, and they ask you questions regarding that. For me, they will also ask me about my job, what role I'm about the role that I'm in, and buzzwords related to that. So these are some of the things I have to brush up on, and that's what I'll prepare for. And all the best, everyone, for this.
So one of the penultimate question which I would ask is, since you are our seniors, what would be your advice to us juniors, like, and also to the people preparing for the CAT, as well as a general advice that you would like to give? After which we'll move to the 1 or 2 audience questions.
I'd say that bits, the most special thing about bits is that you get a lot of avenues to explore your stuff, the clubs, the departments, the kind of exposure that you have, the kind of diverse peer groups that you have, people coming in from all the parts of India, interdisciplinary electives that you can take in your early years as well. I'd say make the most use of it and don't settle into a particular mindset in your first or second year. For example, I've seen a lot of friends of mine or a lot of seniors and juniors who get into thinking ki even in first year we have common courses, but they get into this mindset that I'll go for an MS in CS. And then by the time they finish their third year summer internship, they have a sudden moment of realization that shit, this was not for me. And now they'll fret, I have to see for something else. They'll go for PS2 and they'll go for referrals, this and that, profile building, what they call it, in the last 6 months or so. So I'd say that BITS has given you such a nice platform in general, not for an MBA or an MS. Just explore as much as you can. But yeah, by the end of third year, at least have some idea of where you want to go. That's also the other side of the coin. Yeah.
Yeah. So which does help you a lot. You get a very diverse peer group, and everybody is well focused what they really want to do in their career. First of all, you spend understanding where your actually interest areas lies, right? Don't just randomly follow anyone. Understand what you really want to do and the reasoning behind it, why you really want to do. Once you're clear, you will get a lot of peers or seniors who have already done that path. You can contact them, reach out and understand how they did it and what strategy will help you cut through, right? When it comes to acads, I would like to say, just make sure that you have decent enough academics. If it specifically comes to an IM call, they do heavily focus on the academics of your undergrad. Don't just miss out on that, right? Don't just take light on the CGPA altogether. Just make sure you maintain a decent CGPA overall.
Yeah, about the CGPA thing, like I really try to maintain it above at least 7.5, because I mean, for the best calls, like that's a minimum threshold, I suppose. Not a minimum threshold, but it will help you only. It will improve your score when it comes to the calls. And about bits, yes, like we are very well known for our alumni network, and I think I speak on behalf of all of us when I say that you can absolutely contact us anytime if you have any doubts or queries regarding the preparation or anything. Because if I did not do it, but I'm sure like if I would have approached my seniors, they would have guided me perhaps in an even better manner. And what worked for Abhishek or what worked for Bir or what worked for me would not necessarily work for you. You're a different individual, you have your different strengths and weaknesses. And it's not just about how much you prepare, right? Like from what I've understood so far and what I heard from Abhishek and Bir, these guys studied a lot, these guys practiced a lot. And see, if I was in your place, I would say that I am lying, but I did not study a lot. If I was in your place, I'd say कि ये झूठ बोल रहा है, अब नंबर आ गए तो कुछ भी फेंक रहा है. ऐसा नहीं है. मैं सही में पढ़ाई उतना नहीं किया. I did not prepare as much. For me, there was a self motivation thing, right? Like I sort of failed last year, and I'm like, नहीं अहमदाबाद तो जाना है, उनको घर पे ही रहना है. So that like I want to achieve that dream, right? And that's the thing about self belief and self motivation. So for me, I took it like a challenge. Like, how can this stupid 2 hour exam defeat me? Like, no, I'm going to crack it. And that worked for me. I was confident in myself that I'll perform well. I was not expecting this score, I'll be honest, because utni padhai nahi ki maine. But God's grace, I got good number. I got a good score here. So yeah, studying is important, obviously. Not saying ki bina kuch padhe aata hai. You have to prepare, but do not let that fire within you ever go out. Okay, and like you need to maintain it till the Saturday before the exam. You have to have that belief in yourself, and all the best. That's all I say.
Well, if I were to take the gist of what all you said would be just don't limit yourself. So, well, continuing that, we have got an audience question from Rupashi Saigal for Abhishek. Apart from your prep, what was your other thing that helped you to crack CAT?
So taking upon her question, I think the sole thing which I have realized after talking to my seniors and mentors as well is the tendency to keep yourself calm during the paper, like before the paper as well and during the paper as well. And I'll tell you that this also helps you immensely while you're preparing for the interviews. If by God's grace you clear the paper, come out by flying marks, because I have seen this in with a lot of people. I've myself experienced it. The whole preparation is a roller coaster ride, like especially if you like getting demoralized for B is very different for getting demoralized by me for me. So he if he gets demoralized, he might miss out on 2 3 questions. It's just an analogy. If I get demoralized, I might just wreck my next section completely. I might just bomb it. So I think that getting into that mindset of if I may use the word fuck it, like just nahi hua question, it's fine, move on, do the next one, or getting into that mindset and the usual self as well, that's what helps you get through the paper, and that's what helps you get through the other things also once you give the paper. Because even in the interviews, the IM professors are very very well known to grill you and to give you pressure tests. Like even if you are a 10 CGPA scorer, they might just take it up and then go so deep in your academics that you will yourself think कि यार ये तो डिग्री करी ही नहीं है मैंने अभी ठीक से. So it's just that important that keep calm and then stay focused and learn how to move on when you have to move on from that thing. Yeah.
Well, moving forward, we've got one question for B. I guess you answered, but still, like, is it does taking an early grad help in the CAT preparation?
I mean, it depends. For me, early grad was, I wanted to do an early grad because it gave me this semester free, right? So I can prepare for PI with, I have free time at my hand. I can do things on the side, right? I don't necessarily have to stick to what BITS academics have. Secondly, other reason that pushed me was we had COVID. I was sitting at home. There was not a lot of things that I could do. So it was better to invest my time into the courses which BITS has to offer. This is ultimately your decision. I will not say that it helps you directly or indirectly. You have to take your own call. Yeah, one thing that does help you is you will have your PS in 4-1, right? You have weekends free for sure. You don't have any exams. You can prepare as much as you want. Secondly, photo is free for PI prep and you can focus. Yeah. But there can be some limitations to it as well. Like in some of the forms, you have to fill your semester wise grades. So it's really difficult to put a 0 in some semesters. It might not matter right now because in your final year, you don't anyways have to fill your 7th or 8th grade semesters grades. But it might be of an issue later on when, say, if you attempt your paper the next year after passing out, then it might become an issue if the institute asks you for semester wise breakdown of the grades, but it doesn't generally happen. So most of them ask the cumulative grade, so you're fine to go. Yeah.
Well, we're finally done with all the questions. So now I would like to request Prakhar to share what he wants to share.
The way the way you're introducing is nothing very info. I thought we could end this on lighter note. So I think all of you would like to know how to clear CAT without studying, and to that we say, no, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता, पढ़ना तो पड़ेगा, मेहनत तो करनी पड़ेगी. But उसके अलावा, like I said, you have to have that belief within yourself. And when you start preparing for CAT, you have a look at the paper, you have a look at the questions, and for that I would like to say, it's not rocket science, which I think a few of you might actually find easier. It's not rocket science. It's also not the end of the world. It's just a simple aptitude test to gauge how you can think, how fast you can think, how you react under pressure. Okay, because you could always find curveballs during the exam. When I was preparing, it was supposed to be 3-hour paper. Then they switched it to a 2-hour paper. The next year they changed the number of questions you get in the sections. So this can keep changing. And like somebody said, all you have to do is keep calm, believe in yourself, believe in your preparation, and just move on. And yeah, to end the session, I would say, I think feel free to contact any of us, and you have these numbers. You can contact us on Messenger and WhatsApp. And yeah, that is it from my side.
Well, honestly, it was an absolute pleasure hosting all of you and getting an insight into your preparation days. The phenomenal learning experience will surely help us chart our own path through the journey of CAT. So on behalf of everyone at BITS Embryo and BITS Hyderabad, I sincerely thank you for taking out time out of your busy schedule and sharing your journey with us. I also wish you a best of luck for the upcoming rounds, as well as for the future endeavors of your life. So at the same time, I would also like to thank the audience for staying with us, for sending us some good questions. And I hope you got a lot of insights on how to prepare for CAT. So that's it from this session, but BITS Embryo would be there with some more sessions. So till then, stay safe. Thank you so much. That's it from this session.